what's his dilemma? Like, what does it mean to what is it meant for him to believe in Jesus and to embrace these gods and to embrace all of what that encumbers in terms of being in a society that believes in Christianity. And again, this isn't in any way an attack on Christianity, but he is Christian. Versus having this feeling of like thinking about Africa, and suddenly here he is musing about Africa, and he calls it heritage and not Africa. So he's thinking about his heritage, and he's thinking about, although there are Edenic images of people in forests and he uses words like savage and fierce and leprous flowers. That there are all of these images of beauty, and yet here he is living in society. Why is he having this back and forth? Like, what is his problem with accepting his heritage? He says believing in Jesus has cost him a lot. My conversion came high priced. Like, what is he battling against?
He can't find a compromise between fully assimilating, going to one extreme, and feeling superior to where he's from, or belonging to where he's from. But he can't go either extreme because he's stuck, I guess you could say, in the world. And so his faith, he can't fully be Christian, but he can't fully not be Christian either. He can't fully go into whatever religion he was God. And
well, let's say he accepted. Okay, so what if he accepted his heritage? What would that say about him? What is he afraid that would say about him? Again, when you think about those images in Africa,
it wouldn't be portrayed as the other extreme, like Roxanne was saying. I think he's kind of stuck in the middle. Like, if he goes one way and like accepts his heritage.
But we don't feel stuck in the middle. Like when you talk about your heritage, and you don't feel stuck in the middle. Why is he feeling stuck in the middle?
Because he feels like his heritage and his life anymore.
Because it's two totally different things.
Well, but it's really not. But what is the say it again?
He goes back to his heritage. He belongs to his life.
Right. I mean, this Edenic image of Africa is also being portrayed as being savage and uncivilized.
But he's in the last 3 lines.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, that this wilderness kind of aspect versus this very civilized, they're different.
But civilized isn't a word. That's a human construct.
I know, okay, but they're too.
That's my point.
Okay, no, I see what you're saying.
He is stuck between this construct and the society that which says that was uncivilized, and that's why we could enslave blacks, because they weren't equal. Yeah, they were savages and more animal-like. So that's uncivilized. But for most of us, we don't think of having to make that choice with our heritage.
What's civilized?
It's always civilized. That's a given. We just decide whether we want to keep it as customs of it, but we don't have to make a choice. We don't have to give up gods. Our beliefs. We don't have to do anything that core to ourselves. The way that he is, and he, with the tragedy of the poem, and what's so beautiful about it is he is still fighting it. He says, "Not yet has my heart or have at least realized they are civilized." Like he has bought into this idea that his ancestors were not civilized, and that he's not damning society as much as he's damning himself.
Yeah, because it says here, it's like, I belong to Jesus Christ, preacher of humility. And so Jesus is portrayed, and Christianity is portrayed as like this, like this thing that advocates humility, and it's like this ideal for him. And so if he feels like if he doesn't accept that and like rejects that and goes back to his own heritage, you lose that sense of humility, and he'll be viewed as someone who isn't humble.
Well, but even more than being viewed as someone who's not humble, he can be viewed, he's trying to pass in a sense.
Yeah.
He is, if you read a couple pages earlier, like his little biography, but he lived in 1903 through 1946. So he's writing this in the 20s that he's trying to prove to them that he's civilized, but that comes at a cost.
Is it his fault that he wasn't really, it's 3 centuries, maybe 3 generations into like
it's not his fault, but I think what he's dealing with is the fact of his turning his back on it. Because I'm not very religious as a Jew, but I still believe in the same God. If I'm going to go to synagogue, it's the same beliefs. I can, I don't live, in a shtetl the way my great grandparents did, but I can still honor that and not have to apologize for it or explain it away. And for him, he has what he's fighting is this idea that I am, it kind of goes back to Lula in Dutchman, trying to get Clay to own who he is and not wear the button-down suit. It's okay if it's not okay, but it's, in a sense, fine. White society is not going to accept my heritage, but I'm not accepting my heritage. I can't proclaim proudly that these are where I'm from. I have to consider, I am finding myself to say these things are uncivilized, they're heathen, they're not worthy, and that's what he's really dealing with, the pain for himself that he can't, but that he can't own both parts of himself together. Yeah?
I also think I think there must be space between, since it has been he's not first generation, there's years and generations that set him apart, but I think your roots and where you come from is always a part of you, no matter how far away, and especially if there is this distinction of skin color, that he is still, that ties him back in a very real form, which is part of, his struggle with religion and stuff. So that's a constant reminder.
But you see, with a lot of cultures, even I think in the Jewish community, there was a long time when the names became very Americanized, and now you see, my nieces and nephews have very biblical names. Asher and Shira and Kinneret. It's names that my parents would never name their kids, because you were trying to fit in. And you saw again Leroy Jones changing his name to Mary Baraka to kind of claim his identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't really think there's a huge distinction between a person's religion and their choice and their heritage, because if you think about it, it's all about the starting of humans and stuff. But with this idea of Jesus, it's kind of like that was a real man, and you could almost maybe trace yourself back to. It's almost like if you have a white father, you can trace back to that all-encompassing white father, and he feels almost he has to be adopted in, some sort of thing like that.
Well, how did he become a Christian?
What?
But how did he probably become a Christian? How did his family become Christian?
White people and babies.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's from slaves, and they got their religion when they were brought to the U.S. And had they not been here, he would be in Africa with not seeing those gods as heathen, but seeing them as their gods. So he can't even trace back. Yeah, to that. It's not his. And yet he not only has owned it, but by owning it is rejecting his heritage.
Well, and I think the fact that Jesus was a real man, that it's somebody who lived, exaggerates that almost. It's somebody that he really cannot trace back to or feel like he relates to, because it's a white man, things like that. Anyway, looks at the pictures in church.
Right. So let me ask you this: why do we read this while we're reading Apex?
Oh, okay. This is why I'm thinking about this for 15 minutes.
Thank you. Okay.
No, yeah, because in Apex, well, there's a whole matter with how the black people were the ones who started the town. They were the ones who needed freedom.
Okay.
And so it's and then now what they're struggling with is these two names and then this new name, and how do you come to terms with the people who started the town, who found it, and it was theirs, with the people who then came in and brought business into it, and now trying to modernize that.
How do
What does the official history of the town say about the name change from Freedom to Woodrow? On page 60. Right. They created laws, changed it, but what is when he reads about the PR material, in the sense that he's been given, that's been left in his hotel room, what does it say about what's the wording of it?
The one about where they made their fortune?
Huh?
Barbed wire.
Well, they made their fortune barbed wire, but why? How did Winthrop come to town and take over town?
He came through and kind of saw a lot of opportunity there, so he started set up businesses there, which attracted people and got the town going.
And how did the people who were already living there feel about it?
Some saw it as an area of wilderness, an untamed wilderness, but he saw it as a place for an opportunity to develop.
And then it says he won over the area's main inhabitants, right? A loose band of colored settlers.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
But then you hear Regina talking about it, and she said, I think about how they got here in their wagons all the way from the plantations that had been their homes. Think about that; those places were their homes, places of degradation and death. And then,
Okay.
so that's what the idea of freedom came from.
Okay. So what do you get from that? I mean, what else were they saying about the fact that they ended up going along with Winthrop? I mean, what's the other? Why would they go along with Winthrop?
They were scared
Of what?
of the possibility of what would happen to them if they didn't go along with Winthrop, because he was this white man that came to town and he had more power because of the business thing. So.
Okay, so the official history may not be the real history. We're not,
Right.
Yeah.
According to her.
What Regina thinks.
Yeah.
And there was that thing about the plague that wasn't there something about that wiped out? Am I making that up?
I don't remember.
No, there was, right? There was some very nonchalant.
Oh, it was like a
mention of
one-day
it.
thing that ended as
Yes.
mysteriously as
Yeah.
it started.
Yeah. Which is little
Okay.
things that were never really thoroughly talked about or registered at all in the history of the town.
Okay. So you've got these two competing quote unquote truths about the past, which we can't know. And then you've got Lucky who wants to change the name. So we've got this situation of the town's name and what it's going to be. And then we get this story about Apex, the claim to fame of our protagonist.
What did you say?
Yeah, the claim to fame of the protagonist, Apex.
Yes.
What is Apex?
Apex is a Band-Aid.
Okay, and what is so great? Why did it make it
Comes in different skin colors.
Okay.
The wording of it. Can I just say how he presents the wording of just everything is so forward. It's so interesting.
Hey, go what page are you?
Okay. I'm just picking out random quotes, 76. It's like blood in their business and sound came to money and money credit. Like what?
That's great. I like that. Yeah, I love that. How about let's look on page 109 about the Band-Aids where he
What
talks about
percentage of that is
in the advertise.
What do we go with 92 on the iPad?
Can you do a search on iPad? Do a search.
It is the same. It is on that.
Can you do a search on iPad?
It doesn't really.
Yeah, you
how
just
far
do-
percentage of the way are we through?
Oh,
You just do,
what,
if
We
you
say
just give us a
around
line.
60.
What's the line?
Yeah, it's like 2/3. Yeah.
Just give us a line, we
What's
can
the line?
search it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In
There's
the
no line.
advertising, multicultural children's skin knees revealing the blood beneath, the commonality of wound, they were all brothers now, and multicultural bandages were affixed to red boo-boos. United in polychromatic harmony and injury, with our individual differences respected, eventually all healed beneath Apex. Apex hides the hurt. So what is great about these Band-Aids? A couple things. First, let's talk about the Band-Aids, and then we'll talk about the
Inclusive.
name. Huh?
It's inclusive.
Universal.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't it just has to be close enough so you don't feel like a white person's supposed to get injured and then they get this Band-Aid. But no, it can be any kind of person.
Because everyone gets injured.
But it can't.
Everyone gets injured.
But here's the thing.
And there's 20 different hues, right? They narrowed
They
it down
cut
to
it
20
down.
to grade 20. Yeah.
The point of a Band-Aid, for him
Stops
is
the-
to blend in and sort of disguise the red, right? That's the point of it.
Well, you got it on your skin, so it's
Yeah.
to protect the wound, but also
But
make
they,
it not
but
obvious.
people
hide
wanna
the
look
wound.
down and see that it's not like something
That's
that's
why you
really
have
there.
the flesh color
Yeah, no,
bandage.
so
Right,
when
yeah.
you get the flesh color band-aids, they're supposed to disguise like
Yeah.
your injury.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also
Okay.
reality.
And in real
It's supposed to hide the hurt.
and in the real world, one reason Band-Aid became clear is because that's a way of doing this without doing this.
Yeah.
Your skin color will show through the clear adhesive now, as opposed to that weird English.
Or if you go with like Scooby-Doo and whatnot.
They did it for the Hello Kitty.
Right.
Oh, that
And you're proud of your
Conan.
wound.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are great. But what's the crux at the end of that paragraph that is also sitting there with the slogan for the Band-Aid? Yeah, what is, think of the verb. Apex hides the hurt.
Hides. Oh.
So what's, as opposed to what? Huh?
Heal.
Fix,
Fixes the hurt.
heals.
Well,
Because you
Band-Aids
can't
aren't
really
gonna-
get rid of it.
It's honestly not like a
Band-Aids aren't
band-aid
gonna
itself
fix it.
isn't very beneficial.
All it does is
after,
stop.
It's just the thing.
Something's gonna
thrown.
come
Well,
And it's not.
Makes you
Unless-
feel better, you
unless
don't
you
have
put
to look
Neosporin
at it.
on
Getting
it.
into your
What were you saying?